Aha! What a haul this year. I love Halloween. Wait a minute. Let's see what Jason's up to.
And a man on the other end of the phone said, "You only have 2 minutes to escape the mansion before it explodes." Then, right as you're about to board the helicopter, the tyrant burst out of the floor and cut your head off. End of story.
Yawn, I heard that when I was in the 2nd grade. It's not scary.
This too.
Is not?
This too.
Is not?
Fine, the Utah one's scarier.
PlayStation, please. Here's a game that's really terrifying. Have you ever seen 5 seconds of a game and just from that knew you had to consume all of it immediately? That was me with Echo Knight. And can you blame me? Look at it. This is a fucking PS1 game. Chunkiest polygonal environments you'll ever see. These creepy marionette moving like dollhouse monstrosity low poly humans in first person solely so they don't have to render another character. LSD simulator movement style right down to the head bob and hearing every single one of your footsteps. It's an acquired taste. Glance at this and you've got to pick a side already. It's like you're either all in or you're all out. This either looks like the coolest thing in the world to you, or this looks like something you would never want to touch with a 15,000 foot pole. You're teleported back in time to a ship that went missing at sea a long time ago. Everyone on board is a ghost, some kind of restless soul that needs resolution. That trope, you know, a ghost that's haunting an area or a person or whatever because they have unresolved issues in the real world. And in this case, sometimes that means giving them an item, reuniting a ghost mom with her ghost son. Sometimes you're diving directly into their memories and you're teleported back to these fantastical locations where you need to fix whatever went wrong in their life to give them such regrets or grief or whatever. That stuff is cool, but minute to minute, Echo Knight is mostly a game about solving puzzles. All kinds of different ones. Block pushing, lever pulling, what items to use when and where and on who or with each other. Puzzles where you need to examine your environments. And admittedly, a few of them are actually incredibly clever. Like the part where you're supposed to figure out what some guy named Ed's favorite drink is by noticing that his initials are on this painting on the wall, while simultaneously noticing the bottles of alcohol that are half hidden behind a bar in these drawers, and you would have to know to crawl back there. Well, anyway, on the painting, you're supposed to notice that there's 2 snakes, an axe, and a man, and on the bottles of alcohol, there's a snake bottle, an axe bottle, and a man bottle. So because of this, you're supposed to realize that you're supposed to pour this ghost a drink from the snake, axe, and man bottles. Good shit like that. And amongst these separated vignettes, across all of these ghosts from all different walks of life, there's a central plot line that weaves its way through it, and everything keeps coming back to this evil red stone. There's also the disappearance of your father working its way in there somewhere. But the way everything comes together, I don't think it quite works. It's really goofy, it's really stupid, which is kind of a shame because this could have been an all-timer for me if the story had worked. Although, earnestly, that's not the appeal by my estimation. I chose to play this because I wanted to be in these early 3D environments, stomping around with endearingly annoying controls. Sometimes you're just in search of a vibe, and Echo Knight certainly delivered on that and then some. It's short too, only about 6.5 hours for my completely blind playthrough. Oh yeah, and I almost completely forgot to mention that it was developed by...
That wasn't scary at all.
Fine. How about Silent Hill? Ew, baby spit. Okay. That last game was just a warm-up for this creepy tale I like to call... Yeah, I'll bet you didn't know Darkseid was on PlayStation. The second one is too, actually. Maybe next year. If you've never heard of it, Darkseid is an American-made point-and-click adventure game on the PC. Its largest selling point, that instead of simply ripping off Alien like so much of the video game industry loved to do, they actually got the visual design artist for Alien, H.R. Geiger, to do the art for this game. That's really cool. Darkseid isn't imitation, it's the real deal. It was ported to PlayStation, but as you can probably discern by these strange characters inhabiting the bottom third of our screen, for some reason the port never left Japan. Luckily, all of the spoken dialogue is still in English.
Hi, you must be Mike. I'm your neighbor, Delbert.
You play as this guy named Mike Dawson, who just moved into this gigantic house, especially for one single guy. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I don't even know what to do with that one room. Can't imagine a big old haunted house. Also, like me, he loves to narrate and comment on everything he sees, often multiple times. So whenever you leave your house, be prepared to hear,
"It's a calm neighborhood out here. My house seems somehow out of time, a relic of a dark past, or perhaps a dark future."
and every time you go to the store,
What a quaint general store with a little bit of everything for day-to-day existence.
and every time you go to the graveyard,
Here's an entry to an old cemetery, overgrown with weeds.
or walk down this hill,
The road seems strangely empty and unoccupied. This town looks unnaturally quiet.
he's a blabbermouth, which, considering the circumstances, is a very good thing. It's not like I can read the subtitles or anything. The premise is these aliens insert this little monster directly into your forehead hole at the start of the game, and you have 3 days, or about an hour and a half in real world time, to figure out how to stop it from hatching out of your skull. Oh yeah, and it just so happens that your new house doubles as a portal to this alternate fucked up H.R. Geiger alien dimension. It's like Majora's Mask with the 3-day cycle, except you can never keep any progress from one cycle to the next. Progress is what you keep up here. You only retain knowledge. The point-and-click genre is typecast as one that can be obtuse, unforgiving, and generally just containing asshole design elements that can potentially render your save file unwinnable. And Darkseid embraces all of this. Love it or hate it, this game, games like this, are the reason people say shit like that. It's the embodiment of dumb, cryptic puzzle solutions that make no sense, unwinnable save files because you didn't do the thing right away. Its makers expected you to fail repeatedly, as so many aspects are just trial and error. Unless you look up a guide and follow it to a T, you will not beat Darkseid on your first, or second, or even third attempts. There's tons of pitfalls, insta-death traps, and pointing out ways that you can brick your save almost feels redundant. But I don't know. Here's one that won't spoil much, I hope. At some point during the second and third days, you'll always get arrested, even if you don't do anything illegal. Well, at least they want your ass on both the second and third days. You can get out of jail on one of those days, but not both. And the way this works is that the police officer stands next to your front door, so if you try to leave your house or go into it, you get busted. Problem is that you absolutely need to go back and forth in and out. And the solution is to, on the first day, hang a rope from this gargoyle statue on your roof, and then use that to enter and leave your house. Obviously, you would have no way of knowing this, or even really would have thought to have done this on your first run. But once you realize there's a problem, you can get your brain working to find a solution. And that's just a simple example. This game is loaded with them. I beat Darkseid a long time ago, the PC version. So for this, I wasn't going in blind, yet it still took me 3 attempts. Now, is Darkseid any good? I don't know if good is the adjective I'd use to describe it, so probably not if I'm being honest. I love the style, and I respect how it lets potential players fail. But when you break it down, the game only has a few areas, and if you know the premise, you know the entire plot of the game, and there aren't really any puzzles that I thought were particularly clever or well designed. Personally, I love dumb adventure game nonsense, such as giving your neighbor a bottle of scotch so you can steal his dog's stick. No doubt an essential item to preventing this alien scourge from being born. I absolutely love shit like that, but I'm also acutely aware that it's not for everyone, and it's not really a sign of particularly good design either. Hello? Something scary happening over here. Hey nerd, put the baby consoles away. It's Halloween.
For your information, the Nintendo Switch is enjoyed by children and adults alike.
All right, give me one more chance. This next one will be scary, I promise. D, yeah really, it's just called D, is one of the strangest games I've ever seen. You play as Laura, who's investigating why her dad suddenly became a mass murderer. So I guess the D stands for dad? But everything you see is a trick. Your PlayStation is not rendering these visuals. This is an FMV game. Almost reminds me of Myst. If Myst were much smaller, horror-themed, had a time limit, instead of it being a slideshow, used full motion videos instead. Oh, alright, maybe it's not like Myst at all. D is a video game about wasting your time, which is true of almost everything if you really break it down, but it's much more literal here. The premise is you're trapped in this pocket dimension or something. I don't know, you just kind of get absorbed by this Donnie Darko goo and need to find your way out. The hook is that you have a hard time limit of 2 hours to do so. So it's like an escape room, or at least what I imagine what an escape room might be like because I've never actually been to one. Every obstacle, every mechanic, everything about D is designed to stall for time. Because it's an FMV game, you don't directly control your character, instead you hit forward or left or right, and a predetermined animation plays. Once it's over, you pick another action, wait for the animation to end, repeat until the game's over. And as a result, it is one of the slowest paced experiences you will ever have. Like right here. Shit, I didn't mean to go that way. So you need to wait for Laura to move all the way down the stairs, walk all the way across this hallway, then turn around, and wait for her to move all the way back before I get to choose another action. Occasionally, this half-transparent, disembodied head will appear just to talk shit about you.
Laura, go back.
Reminds me of Crash Bandicoot 3.
Cross over to this side.
And if you'll remember a single thing about D, it'll be this head moaning,
Laura, 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 Laura. What are you doing?
Laura, Laura. At its core, D is a series of light puzzles paired with horror-themed visuals. How light am I talking? Well, let me take you on a tour of this opening bit. So to start off, you find yourself in this opening room, which I'll represent here, with a locked door, which I'll represent right here. There's also a table in the middle of the room, and an opening on the left-hand side. On the table is a bowl. And if you look at the bowl, it fills up with blood. Leaving the room, on the left-hand side, you'll discover 2 pathways. You'll discover another room with a barrel and a valve, and another hallway up here. If you try and go through this room to the hallway, then spikes come out of this wall, and they cut you off, so you can't go this way. This way is out. You can't interact with the valve on the tap yet. You can't interact with the barrel, so you go to the other room. This room contains a dresser with 5 marked drawers in the corner. Opening each drawer will net you a piece of blank paper. So what do you do with a blank piece of paper? Well, the only other interactable element you've seen so far is this bowl of blood in the first room. So you put the paper into the bowl, and it reveals the Roman numerals for 4 and 2. So you go back to the room with the dresser, open up only the 4 and the 2 drawers, and this time it nets you a wrench that you can interact with the valve with. So you go back to the room with the valve, interact with the valve, it disables the spikes, so you can go up through this hallway and continue the game. We're talking this kind of shit, and it's all pretty self-contained, so most of the scenarios look something like this opening one. Oh yeah, and by the way, this diagram, what I just explained, this is about 20% of the whole game? No, I'm not kidding. D is tiny. It's almost a scam. If this were a Myst clone with pictures instead of slow-moving FMVs, and this face didn't interrupt you half a dozen times, it would be about 20 minutes of actual game. And as I said before, if you've already solved these puzzles once, it's not like they're going to change, so why would you ever revisit this?
Laura, we are cursed. In our veins flows the blood of Dracula.
Wait, the D stands for Dracula? This isn't scary. Not even for a video game.
Well, it was made in 1995. Maybe people were, easier to scare back then.
Yeah, like when you look back on the Scary Maze game. Pretty tame by today's standards.
Children, bedtime.
Well, guess I'll have no trouble getting to sleep tonight.
Oh no, please, keep the light on. Just a few more minutes.
I'm not sleeping with the lights on. They're just PlayStation games. They can't hurt you.